guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today we are doing a toasty fall look. Since fall is right around the corner, I started feeling inspired to make this video. So if you like what you see and you want to learn how to recreate it, just keep watching and we'll dive right in. Alright guys, so I'm starting off this makeup look by pinning my hair back so it doesn't get in the way while we're doing the makeup look. For primer, I'm using the Porefessional primer by Benefit. It's a smoothing primer, and I like to use this because it gives your skin a nice canvas for your foundation. Now I'm going in with my trusty NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer in the shade Caramel to cover up those dark circles. I love this so much. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with this foundation I'm about to use. It's the Forever Skin Glow by Dior. I have mine in the shade 3WO. I'm not sure if it's because it has SPF 35 in it, but for some reason when I put it on my skin, I look like Casper at first. It is way too light, but it oxidizes to your skin tone after about 15 minutes, so I promise you guys I'm not crazy that this foundation does match my skin. Now that I've applied the foundation with my foundation brush, I'm just going in with my sponge to get rid of any of those brush lines that were created. For concealer, I'm using my trusty NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer in the shade Ginger, and I'm using a lighter shade for my under eyes and just to highlight like my nose and portions of my face that I really want to bring attention to. Once it's applied, I'm just going over it with my Thrive Cosmetics sponge to blend everything together and really brighten the spots that I want to lighten. Okay, now that our complexion is done, it's time for the fun part. This is the Nude Sticks Nudies All Over Face color, and I'm just using this to warm up the face. I'm using mine in the shade Deep Maple A. I'm basically just drawing lines with this anywhere that I would apply bronzer. Once all the lines are drawn on, I'm just flipping the stick over, and they actually have kind of like a mini kabuki brush on the other end, and I'm just using that to blend in the harsh lines with my skin. And as you can see, I'm just using very small circular motions with this, and it blends in very nicely with your foundation to make you look very bronzed and ready for the next step. To set the under eyes, I'm using the Morphe Bacon Set Setting Powder in the shade Banana, and I'm using this just under my eyes to go ahead and give a more brightening effect to cover up my dark circles. To set the rest of the face, I'm using the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish in the shade Medium, and I really like this one because it's very finely milled and you can just use the smallest amount to set the face so it doesn't look cakey, it doesn't crease, it just gives you the perfect amount of setting so your foundation doesn't move around all day. For bronzer, I'm using my favorite Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer in the shade Endless Summer, and I'm basically going over all of the portions of my face that I went in with the nude sticks to bring warmth into my face, and this is just going to give you a little bit more of a contour, a little bit more of a bronzy glow. All right, we have made it to eyebrows. So my eyebrows is kind of a long routine. If you guys ever want to see a more in-depth video on that, I can definitely make that. But anywho, I'm using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Wiz in the shade medium brown, and I'm just using this to kind of carve out the shape of the eyebrows. I'll show you what I do next once we're done with this portion. Okay, so now that we have our brows all shaped up, I'm going to be using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Powder Duo in the shade dark brown, and I use both of the shades, I mix them together, and I just fill in the rest of my brow to give it a little bit more definition. Okay, so now we are ready to prep the lids with some eyeshadow base. I'm using the Tinted Smudge Proof Eyeshadow Base by NARS in the shade medium, and this just keeps your eyeshadow from creasing if you have oily lids like I do. I'm just starting off with the shade New Yorker, and I'm using the fluffy end of the brush that actually comes with the Amrezy palette, and I'm using this shade to buff it into the crease of my eyelids. On a Morphe E18 pencil brush, I'm using the darkest brown shade, Yugo, and I'm using that to draw it in on the outer edge of my eye. I'm being very careful to keep the eyeshadow in an angled upward shape towards my eyebrow. This way it draws the eyes up and keeps them from looking droopy. I'm going to deepen up the outer corner of my eye by using a flat brush and dipping it into the shade 1988. It's a slightly lighter brown shade, and filling in the outer corner towards the middle of my eye. On a clean flat brush, I'm using a hydrating rose facial spray. You can honestly use any setting spray or facial spray to do this. You just want to get the brush a little wet, so when you do dip it into that shimmer shade, it's going to hold on really tightly, and it's going to make it look even more dramatic when you brush it onto your eyelid. I'm using this with this shade Georgina, which is honestly my favorite color in this palette. It is so pretty, so luxurious. Anyways, you're going to start from the inner corner of your eye and work it towards the middle to kind of start blending it with that dark brown shade that we already have on. So we're going to be doing the exact same thing but with an even smaller paddle brush and dipping it into the shade Dragon after you've misted it with some type of facial setting spray. And this one we're going to concentrate just on the inner corners of the eyes to kind of give us an inner corner highlight. I'm using the same brush that came with the Amrezy palette on the first shade that we used to kind of buff a little bit more of that onto the crease to give it a more blended effect with the other colors that we've added on. Using a flat paddle brush, we're going to go into that original shade New Yorker, and we want to rub this along the bottom lid starting from the outer corner to about 2/3 of the way in towards the inner corner. Using a even smaller pencil brush, we're going to dip into the shade 1988, and we're going to do the same thing we just did with New Yorker. We're going to start at the outer edge of the eye and work your way almost 2/3 into the inner corner just to give the under eye a little bit more definition. To set the brows, I'm using the Benefit 24-Hour Brow Setter in clear. I'm using a light brown lip liner. This is the NYX Professional Makeup, their Slide On Glide On lip liner in the shade Need Me. For lipstick, this is my absolute favorite lipstick in the entire world. It is the Becca Cosmetics Ultimate Lipstick Love in the shade Chocolate, and it's very, very dark brown. It's going to give us those 90s fall vibes. This is the Chianti London Marbled Light Blush, and I have mine in the shade Burnt. I'm using the Tarteist Pro Glow highlighter palette in the shade Lit to highlight the high points of the cheeks, nose, and my chin. Finally, to wrap this look up, I'm using the Urban Decay All Nighter Setting Spray. Once the setting spray has set for a moment, I'm using my sponge to lightly dab over my face to remove any watermarks it may have created. So as you see, this is the finished look. It's very toasty and warm and fall-like. I hope you enjoyed watching this tutorial, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave a comment down below and let me know how your look turned out. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.